Welcome. Welcome, everybody. All right, we're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. You, and you. Invite your followers, invite your friends, invite your family. We have a powerful testimony that we want you to hear. All right, while we're waiting for just a few moments, we're just going to ask if you can just please get some water. Find a place that's comfortable. Sit back, relax. We want you to focus on something positive, okay? It's a lot. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Go ahead. Feel free to make a comment. Tell us who you are. Greet our guest. We're going to invite her in just a few moments. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Marvin Sapp, My Testimony. All right. All right, let me transition. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to like this video and share. All right, so let's welcome our special guest on today, which is the phenomenal Minister Gray. Everybody give her a hand. Come on and give her a hand all over the sanctuary. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, woman of God. How are you?
Hello, hello. How are you?
Oh, I am phenomenal. I'm great. It's so good to see you. Like I forestated, when we first came on, I saw her face and I just began to light up. Praise and Bishop. Thank you so much for joining the live. I see more people coming in. I appreciate you. We're going to talk about today divorce and reconciliation. I feel a run in my spirit already. I feel a run. Won't God do it? Oh, yes, he will. This is a continuation of the developments on last Friday. We talked about divorce and deliverance. And if you followed the broadcast, if you were able to watch the broadcast, you noticed that we talked about a special situation where God brought forth some reconciliation after divorce. And so the Lord allowed me to connect with this phenomenal woman of God, which is Minister RuNett. I'm going to get your name on. Maybe I won't. Minister RuNett Nia Ebo Gray.
Ebo.
Ebo. Oh my God. I'm so close. Mr. Gray, I love you, woman of God.
You got most of it though.
Okay. Almost, but I love her so much. We connected last year around about the conference. She was so kind to invite me to come and do an interview on her broadcast about divorce and deliverance and about the things that I had going on and the project and all. And I was just so flabbergasted at the opportunity to come all the way to Philadelphia on her broadcast and to do that. And I never forgot the interaction that we had. She's such a blessing and such a phenomenal woman. It just blessed me. And during the downtime, we were just having our conversations, and that's when she shared her story about her divorce. See, everybody has a story, amen. Everybody has a testimony, amen. And so I was so blessed by her story that I never forgot it. And so everywhere I go, I said, you know what? There is this one story. That's how impressed I was by her story. I carry it with me. It's in my heart. It was very inspirational and inspired me to know of what God can do, in situations such as divorce, because all times people think it's one and done, it's finished. There's no reconciliation. But she has an alternative view, right? An alternative experience, right? Where she experienced God to be one to reconcile her situation. So let's give her an opportunity to introduce yourself. Most folks know this woman. This is a phenomenal woman of God. So take your time and introduce yourself to my audience. For those that may not know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself, woman of God.
My name is RuNett Nia Ebo Gray. Gray is my married name. I keep Ebo, even though most people drop their maiden name when they get married, because I use it professionally as a poet.
So she's a poet?
Yes, as my husband put it, you were writing poetry before you met me, so you might as well keep that and keep on going.
All right. Okay, so that's your pen name. So you just kept it. Okay. I'm trying to
Absolutely.
figure an angle that looks good. Okay, okay. All right. So she's a minister of the gospel. She's a poet. What else do they need to know about you, woman of God? There's so much. What have you done and over the years of
What
your
haven't I
resume? Come on, spit it out. Come on, tell us your resume. Come on, we want
had?
to.
Let me see. Well, I'm my proudest achievement is I had
Okay.
5 sons. 5 sons.
5 boys. My
Yes,
God. Isn't that
yes,
something? And that is an achievement, especially in this day and age if I can't breathe. For them to be
yes,
alive and
yes,
well and my God today.
yes,
5 boys.
yes.
Okay.
And I'm also currently a ghostwriter, proofreader, editor.
See, look at that. She's a ghost rider. Help me out, woman of God.
Well,
She said
I think
proofreader
people
and
know what a
editor.
ghostwriter does. Ghostwriters usually take something that some author has already done and they
Okay.
embellish it so it has more flourish.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So
that's
can
what
you
it is.
highlight some books that you've is that I don't know, do you have to sign a clause for that or something? Or is it
No,
can you
well, it depends on whether or not you're doing it professionally or not. The funny thing about that for me is that when I retired from my second job where I was executive assistant to a gentleman who had his own business
Mhm.
as a security person,
Okay.
I I asked the Lord once I came home. I said, "Okay, I'm home. So what do I do now?" And the very next day, a gentleman came to me and said, "I need you to edit my book for me." But he didn't
Wow.
want just an editor. He wanted an editor and a proofreader, and he wanted to
Mhm.
make sure that it had enough flash to be interesting. So that's where the ghostwriting came in.
Okay. And you wrote your own books, right?
I have written several books of poetry. Yes.
Okay, won't you give us some titles of those books that you all can look? She's an author as well, not only just but her own as authorship. What's some of the books
Well,
that you've written?
the signature poem that people know, or quite a few people are familiar with, is "Lord, Why Did You Make Me Black?"
Lord, why did you make me black? I know a whole bunch of people asking that question. Oh my God, yes. Why
Yes,
did you
and
make
I
me
wrote
black?
that back in 1995,
1995. Isn't that
and
something?
people
And why
still
is it signature? Why does people know it? Did
wondering.
someone notable cite that one?
I beg your pardon.
Why is that one so notable of all the poetry? What is so significant about that for those that may not know?
Um, for one thing, because once I wrote the poem, the following year it was plagiarized all over the place. It was
Wow.
I I wrote it, published it, copyrighted it, but it was plagiarized all over the place. I was getting emails from people saying, "You got to read this piece," and it said author unknown. And I'm looking at the piece and I'm going, "Wait a minute, that's the one God gave me." But
Wow.
when people were copying it because they were making copies and distributing it all over the place, a lot of times they didn't
Wow.
bother with the bottom of the poem where it said it was inspired by the book of Genesis, chapter
Hmm.
1, verse 26 and 27.
Right. Wow. And did you meet anybody notable? Any presidents or any heads of states or anyone?
Not presidents. I met several city council people like Jamie Blackwell and her husband Lucian. I met
Mm-hmm.
Gregory. I met my mentor. Well, she's not my mentor per se, but she's the person that inspired me to start writing poetry, and that was Nikki Giovanni. That was my highlight. That was my president. I didn't worry about meeting any presidents. As long as I met Nikki Giovanni, I was fine.
Wow. That's amazing. All right. So she's very known all throughout Philadelphia, if not, like you said, even invertly through her writings and her ghost writings. Just again, a phenomenal woman of God, minister of the gospel. Just wanted her to just want to highlight and feature somebody. This is good to be celebrated for once. My God, when people are digging deep in your past, when you're doing wrong, it's just good to be able to celebrate one another. And so I do want to just give you a virtual hats off to you, woman of God, for all of your accomplishments. And even today, you still do poetry, right? You do spoken
Absolutely.
word, right? You
Yes.
have events. You do have an event that you do. You want to
I
talk
have
about that?
a poetry venue called Poetify. Poetry to
Poetified. All right. And that happens when annually,
well,
quarterly.
sometimes we do it 5 times a year. But for the last 2 years, since my partner in rhyme is going back to school, we kind of took a break. So we only do it every now and then. But as of this year, we're going to go try to go back to our original schedule by 2021. So this year, we'll probably only have two more events. And then next year, we'll probably go back to 5 times a year, which is every other month from February to October.
Wow. I love that, partner in rhyme.
Yeah, that's my
Not partner
partner
in
in rhyme.
crime, but partner in rhyme.
Victoria for my partner in
Amen.
rhyme.
I love it. I love it. And so, you know what? Before we get into this testimony, I just found it so interesting. I guess from the time we got connected on social media, she was reading some of my posts on social media, and she ended up printing one of my posts that I wrote, and she wanted me to read it on air. I guess it sounded poetic to her, and I still had that post that you had printed out for me.
Oh my goodness.
You wanted me to read on air, and I just thought that was so special that you thought that God, whatever God had gave me that particular day, inspired you enough to want to print that and wanted me to read it. And so
Yes.
you are so inspirational on so many levels, and I just want to say hats off, woman of God. Seriously, hats
Thank
off.
you. Thank you.
Hats off.
Thank
I appreciate you. And your niece, because she the one that's recommended you in the first place.
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate her. She's watching now. Hey, woman of God, I love you.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to get into it again. Our topic for today is divorce and reconciliation. I think most of us understand the process of divorce, but there may be some people that may not understand the process, or we have a very negative, our thoughts are negative regarding divorce, or, for most people, it has a negative connotation, and rightly so, because of, I want to say the after effects, because the divorce itself is neither right or wrong. It's just a process, right? It's a process of undoing a marriage. That's why they call it dissolving something. So it's the legal process of undoing what you did through the marriage process. That's simply what it is. It's just a legal process of undoing what you said, all the commitments, all the vows that you made to the courts before God, before your witnesses. You're simply undoing that obligation on a legal level with that individual. And God recognizes it. That's why God gave Moses the authority to do so when he said it was because of the hardening of the people's heart. That he allowed it to be, because situations and circumstances, unfortunately, push people to the point where they have to do it, whether it's abandonment and the person is ghost, like you said, ghost ride, the person's a ghost, ain't nowhere to be found. And they have to rock this life out by themselves, raising children or whatever like that. And maybe they're not allowed to get, certain essential services and food stamps without the papers. See, people don't understand that. There's certain services and things that you can't receive if you're in a marriage, right? And if you're receiving some type of income, or you're not receiving, or they think you're receiving it, because they count you two as one. And so sometimes you have to go through the process of divorce to get the essential services that you need to take care of your family if a person leaves you. So it's that part. It could be domestic violence. It could be abuse.
Yes.
It could be cheating, serial cheating, maybe not the one and done, but just serial cheating, putting you in harm's way kind of situation. So it's situational. And the Father, God, he understands it. That's why he allowed it, even though he said it wasn't so from the beginning. That was never his intention. But because of the hardening of people's heart, he allowed it to be. And then he had that as a safety guard, as an answer to a solution. It's a solution to a problem. And so that's what that is. And so then we have the reconciliation piece, is what we're going to talk about today, on how God can cause the two that separate, that get the divorce, that even during separation, God can cause the two to come back together again and reconcile. And so that's what we're going to talk about on today. And again, this is a bonus. This is a bonus live, piggybacking off of Friday's live where we talked about divorce and deliverance. And I mentioned our precious woman of God during that so you got to go watch the lives. You got to keep up with what's going on now, because the divorce and deliverance has been live now since COVID-19. We've been doing lives every Friday at 8 p.m. And during that live, we mentioned the woman of God, and they encouraged me to go ahead and get her to come on so that we can interview her and so that she can share her testimony. And so that's why we are here today. We want to inspire you on today. We've heard a lot of negativity. We know what's going on with Mr. Floyd and his family and all the chaos that's going on all around the world. So we just
Yeah.
want to inspire you to know that something good can happen out of something bad. God can literally take your mess and really make a message out of it. And her
Yes.
situation, her story, her testimony is going to tell just that. All right. So let's get into it. I'm gonna ask you some questions that's gonna lead into your testimony that's gonna help to bring it out more. One of the things we started out with was our parental story.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't poof become who we are out of nowhere. We come from environments, right? We come from situations and circumstance. We have our parental story, we have our background, we have our upbringing, we have our economic status, and all that stuff lends to who we are. And it helps us to choose good or bad or indifferent, and it affects who we are today. And so, do you mind
Absolutely.
sharing where you came from, your background, your parental story with us, so we can get a little background about who you are?
The part of the joke I tell sometimes, I tell people I didn't know I was a closet Baptist until I got saved.
A closet Baptist, my God.
The reason I say it that way is because um, I was in Catholic school
Hmm.
for 8 years. All of
Okay.
elementary school, I was in Catholic school. And while I'm in Catholic school, my mother was earning part of her income playing at Baptist churches. So
Wow.
I had to go to two churches. I mean, two services. I went to three because we did
Mm.
9 o'clock mass. And then when I started singing in the choir, I had to do the 11 o'clock mass. But also, and the 9 o'clock mass is the one I went to with my class. When I went to 11 o'clock mass, it was because I was singing in the choir.
Mm.
And on the Sundays that I didn't go there, I had to go with my mother to the churches where she was playing.
Mm.
And I remember sitting there because she would always sit me behind the deacons. And I remember that they would start off service singing a cappella. And
Mm.
part of when they were singing, they would do this hum and kind of rock on their heels. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but I was fascinated because there I'm like 7, 8, 9 years old trying to figure out how to rock on my heels like the deacons while they're doing this. Hmm,
Oh yeah.
hmm.
I
I
was
didn't even know
raised
what they
Baptist.
were
Yes,
singing.
ma'am.
So I just knew that I was learning what they were doing, and I'm trying to do the same thing. And they're looking over their shoulder, kind of grinning at me because here I am, a little girl behind all these deacons, trying to figure out how to do what they do while they're standing there with their hands behind their back, just humming. But I, doing going to Catholic school, of course, I was learning the Catholic religion. But
Mm.
I didn't learn a whole lot about salvation. I didn't learn a whole lot about Jesus Christ. Matter of fact, when I was going to Catholic school, they basically scared us and had us think that God was somebody that you didn't bother with little stuff, meaning
Mm.
yourself. So the only
Mm.
time you talked to God was when you confessed your sins. Ends of story. So when I got to high school, that was a complete culture shock because now I'm in public school because I went from Catholic elementary going to public school, and it was a whole new environment. And then I'm going to church with my mother on a regular basis while she's playing for these Baptist churches, and I'm learning all the songs. Then, oh, and I came from a two-parent family. I have to
Okay.
say that because when I started mentoring at Roosevelt Middle School, I happened to mention one day, I said, and when my dad comes home from school, and the boys in the class stopped me and said, "Your dad?" I said,
Wow.
"Oh, yeah." And they said, "Your dad comes home?"
That's
And
something.
it kind of knocked me back a little bit because I said, "Oh my God." And then the teacher explained to me later on that out of that class of 20,
Mm.
only about three of them had a father in the house.
Wow.
Yeah. So, then I stopped. It made me stop making certain assumptions just because of the way I was raised. So, anyway, getting back to school, after high school, I went to college and I went to Clark College in Atlanta, which is now Clark Atlanta University.
Okay.
So I'm down there and I'm learning all about college life. And one Sunday I went to church and I'll never forget it because I tell people now I celebrate two birthdays. My birthday is October the 1st. The birthday God called me was August the 20th. August the 20th, I committed my life to God. And so that's a rebirth day that I like to celebrate. And
Amen.
that's when I discovered who I really was. That's why I say I was closet Baptist till I went down there, because I went to Ebenezer Baptist Church and woke up. Because then I realized that you could talk to God like he's daddy. You don't have to do pretty prayers. You just do what you had to do in order to communicate with him. And that's when I think my relationship with God improved, got better, got stronger, and helped me be able to go through what I had to go through later on in life.
All right. You know what? You're right. Like that foundation really makes a difference. And like you said, you had a foundation with God. You know, in your mindset and your experience, it transformed, makes you who you are today. And you were fortunate. You realized early in how fortunate you were to be in a two-family household, and how that was unfortunately unique in certain communities when they're accustomed to having a single parent household, with both the parents hands on, and with you, or were you kind of with one and then the other had a serve? Did they have served different roles when it comes
My
to your parents?
my dad was a clothes on your back, food on the table, roof over your head kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he didn't really interact with us that much. And the
Hmm.
funny part was he didn't interact with me a lot till I was grown,
Wow. Okay.
because then he discovered how many things we had in common. And he said it was
Wow.
then he realized how many mistakes he made not tuning in as a father. But
Mm.
but I will say this. I am grateful to him because he made me pay attention to how men treat me.
Okay. Okay.
When I first of all, I wouldn't couldn't have a boyfriend until I was 15.
Okay.
Okay. And then dates were things like the movies. And I had to
Hmm.
be home by a certain time. And in some instances it had to be a group date or it was nothing.
Mm.
And the other part is, though, my mother and I were very close. And I
Mm.
used to tell the boys whenever I went out, I said, you know what? I tell my mother everything.
Mm.
They know everything. Oh yeah, me, my mom, like sisters. When it comes to conversation, we'll sit up till 3 a.m. in the morning. I will tell my mother everything. So
Wow.
having to worry about them doing things they had no business, that didn't happen.
You know
So
what? That's
between
good. You made two really good points. Like you said, yes, dad may have focused on providing, he was a heavy provider, maybe not as hands-on, but it made you pay attention
Mhm,
to how men treat you. That really like came out at me. And the fact that, like you said, you really did communicate with your parents, where with kids nowadays, they get into trouble because there is no communication. There's a breakdown in communication. But you
right.
felt comfortable because of the relationship that you established with your mom and the relationship you had with your dad. It was more of a positive impact that they had on your life. I'm sorry, go ahead.
My mother told me one time, she said she never wanted me to see her as a saint who never made any mistakes. So therefore,
Mm,
we had these conversations where she would tell me stuff. But the other thing was, when I would come home from high school, I was allowed to watch General Hospital and a couple of the other soap operas that came on in the afternoon. But
mm,
she said, you have to make me a promise. If you watch it and you see something you don't understand, bring it to me. Ask.
mm.
She said, because I will tell you what's real and what's not, and what's true and what isn't. So I said, okay. But a lot of times I didn't have that many questions because I had a bad habit of looking at things like a writer as opposed to just observing it as a viewer. And I was
Mm.
busy going, let me see, now how would I make that episode exciting, and what would I make happen in the next one? So that was my thing. And that part of that, I guess, was because I didn't have a lot of friends.
Okay,
I
you're a
was
loner.
I was I was a straight A student most of the time because
Hmm.
I liked school, I liked reading, so that made me an oddball, and people did not really want to hang out with me that much. So I had to
Hmm.
entertain myself, and a lot
Okay.
of times I did that from different things. My writing started when I was 10,
Mm.
and that was therapeutic because I tell people it started because my best friend died. My best friend was my great grandfather.
Oh, wow.
I would sit and talk to that man anytime he had time to talk to me. And this was when I was real little, because when I was like 3 and 4
Hmm.
and going into 5 years old, we stayed at my great grandparents' house. They rented us the third floor.
Hmm.
So I would see him in the evening when he came in from work.
Wow.
Yeah. We
That's a
did quite
lot.
a
I
bit of
mean,
interaction.
that's a lot. I mean, you were, like I said, your great grandfather was in your life. That's a strong. He was your best friend. Like you said,
My
most
best
children
friend.
or young
Now,
people, they don't even want to be around their grandparents like to that
there you go.
extent, unless it's with
Right.
their hand out, buy me something. Okay, not trying to have a conversation and sit and glean and
Right.
learn the
Right.
wisdom from it. So you had that
Mhm.
piece. And the fact that you were interested when you're watching the soap operas, you were more interested in the storyline and the written aspect and how it was constructed versus the entertaining part of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? I find that to be interesting. That's the wordsmith side of you. So that goes to show that that was definitely inspiring you to create, to become a more stronger creator. So it was good
Right.
that you were watching those soap operas. And again, your mother, again, opening the lines of communication, being transparent. Again, to me, these are really good examples that you had growing up from a home. And the fact that you understood that your writing, even from 10 years old, unfortunately, through the death of your great grandfather, it was therapeutic for you. See, oftentimes people
Mhm.
don't even know that writing definitely is a method by which you can, like, now everybody, just all America, need to get some journals and a pen, and they need to
Absolutely.
really pour out their hearts about this current tragedy that we are having to go through because of the injustice, in the system that we're in.
Absolutely. The interesting thing about that was I started out writing in a diary. Not
Mm,
the first thing I wrote. The very first thing I wrote was a poem, because I was dealing with the death of my great grandfather and I didn't know how to express it out loud. So my
mm,
mother said, "Well, if it's bothering you that much, write it down." And it came
mm,
out as a poem, because back then in school I loved poetry.
mhm.
So that was the first poem I wrote, and then everything that I wanted to write that bothered me after that usually came out poetically.
Wow. Do you mind sharing the poem that you, like you said, the most notable poem right now, especially for those that are listening? I really do appreciate you that are watching the broadcast. Every love and life, we do appreciate you. Please do share, because this is a phenomenal woman and she expressed herself with her words. She's a wordsmith. She's a poet. She's an author. She's a ghostwriter, editor. Okay, this is a powerful Black woman of God. Let me put that emphasis on the Black woman of God. Can you share that poem with us? You have that readily available that you can read that? I really do feel like America
You
just
mean, Lord,
needs a
why did you do
reminder.
that? I
Do you
think
need
I
to?
could do most of it by heart.
Okay,
I
all
think,
right.
um,
We're gonna give y'all a treat on tonight. This is impromptu.
take for a second though,
We didn't
because
plan this. All right, go ahead and
no,
go get that, and I'll put the focus on me while you go get that.
okay,
Yeah, she's a phenomenal woman, and she's going ahead and get the poem because I really do want you all to hear it, and I want you to be inspired on today. Now we're gonna get to the testimony. We're gonna get to it. But it's interesting, our backstory, right? Our parental story. It's very powerful and it shapes who we are. It really does. All the little intricacies, it shapes who we are today. And so we're getting to know, amen, Minister Gray, very phenomenal woman. Like I said, she's a wordsmith, she's a poet, she's a spoken word, she's an author, ghostwriter, editor, you name it, she does it. Okay, phenomenal. Okay, she's gonna give you all a showcase in just a few moments of one of the most prolific, I guess, poetry that she's written. You ready?
I'm gonna do it and hope that I still remember it, because I
Okay,
don't
if you
have.
don't, we don't know the difference, so you're gonna let that flow. We, for
Yeah,
those of us that may not know the words, we just gonna let it go. So go ahead, woman of God.
Lord, Lord, why did you make me black? Why did you make me someone the world wants to hold back? Black is the color of dirty clothes, the color of grimy hands and feet. Black is the color of darkness. Black is the color. Oh man, I think I went too fast. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, because
That's okay.
normally I just keep on going.
Okay. Do you want to start over or do you want to try to
Yeah,
find it
no,
and read it? Okay, go ahead
I
and
want
start over then.
okay. Lord, Lord, why did you make me black? Why did you make me someone the whole world wants to hold back? Black is the color of dirty clothes, the color of grimy hands and feet. Black is the color of darkness, the color of tire beaten streets. Why did you give me thick lips, a broad nose, and kinky hair? Why did you make me someone who receives the hatred stare? Black is the color of a bruised eye when somebody gets hurt. Black is the color of darkness. Black is the color of dirt. How come my bone structure's so thick? My hips and cheeks are high. How come my eyes are brown and not the color of daylight sky? Why do people think I'm useless? How come I feel so used? Why do some people see my skin and think I should be abused? Lord, I just don't understand. What is it about my skin? Why do some people want to hate me and not know the person within? Black is what people are listed when others want to keep them away. Black is the color of darkness. Black is the end of the day. Lord, you know my own people mistreat me, and I know this just isn't right. They don't like my hair or the way I look. They say I'm too dark or too light. Lord, don't you think it's time for you to make a change? Why don't you redo creation and make everyone the same? And God answered, why did I make you black? Why did I make you black? Get off your knees. Look around. Tell me, what do you see? I did not make you in the image of darkness. I made you in the likeness of me. I made you from the
Mm.
earth that can grow the food you need. Your color's the same as the Black Panther, known for her beauty and speed. Your color's the same as the Black Stallion. A majestic animal is he. I did not make you in the image of darkness. I made you in the likeness of me. All the colors of the heavenly rainbow can be found throughout every nation. But when all those colors were blended well, you became my greatest creation. Uh, your texture,
Wow.
your hair is the color, is the texture of lamb's wool. Such a humble little creature is he. I am the shepherd who watches them. I am the one who watches over thee. You are the color of midnight sky. I put the stars glitter in your eye. There's a smile hidden behind your pain. That's the reason your cheeks are high. You are the color of dark clouds formed when I send my strongest weather. I made your lips full so when you kiss, the one that you love will remember. Your stature is strong, your bone structure thick to withstand the burdens of time. That reflection you see in the mirror, the image that looks back is mine.
Wow. That's just phenomenal. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let me just Why did you make me black? My Lord, that's just phenomenal. And the fact that you did it based off just memory, you didn't read it, you did it off the top, that was phenomenal. Way better than
Well,
what I can do, and I'm way younger than you. That's just phenomenal.
there's
Beautiful, beautiful.
some
Thank you so much
interesting
for doing that
stories.
for me. I know that was, like I said, it wasn't planned or anything. I should have
No,
probably
you're
asked
not.
you in advance, so please forgive me. But I just wanted
It's
to hear
okay.
that. That's such a beautiful piece that I think the people need to be reminded that they are beautiful, and that's how God made them to be
I
beautiful.
wrote that during our time of separation.
Oh my! So you wrote that during the time that you were separated from your husband?
Yes.
Okay, see, look at that. So there was a reason. Well, God worked that
Reason. There
out.
was a reason.
Yeah,
That's
so you wrote that during. Okay, so that's a good transition. All right, so tell us about your marriage. Tell us about
okay.
the first marriage, the first to the same man. Tell us about the intro. Yeah, how did it
Well, no,
start? The love
I
affair.
can go back a little further than that because the funny
Okay.
thing about all of that was I married very, very young the first time. And I tell people you should never get married calling yourself running away from home. I had a very domineering father. He was not abusive to me as much as my brothers, maybe. And I guess that's
Mm-hmm.
because of the boys. But because of the things that we went through, my father and I got really estranged.
Mm,
And because of that, I was very fearful of my father,
mm,
and one of the things, because I said when I dated, I even wrote a poem. I said I never had problem with my boyfriends
mm-hmm.
because I didn't have those boyfriends long. Because the first time, see, some fathers grill the daughter's boyfriend. My father didn't do that. My father came in from work. He was a policeman, so he come in
Oh,
from work. All of a sudden,
so
his
that's
gun,
another thing. Your dad was a cop.
yeah. So all of
Wow.
a sudden, on the nights that I had a date, his gun needed cleaning.
Wow.
So he'd sit in front of the young man and say, "How you doing, son?" And just proceed to clean.
Wow.
Proceed to clean his gun while they're waiting for me. So by the time we went out and I come back, I didn't get asked out no more.
You talk about whole protection on a whole nother level. He was a police officer. He was cleaning his gun in front of your male suitors, as they called it back in the
Yes.
day.
So they just never asked me to go out again.
Wow. Talking about blocking. That would do it. That gun would do it each and every
But
time.
I
About your dad as a cop, how long did he work as how long was he a police officer?
well, he started as a prison guard. He
Okay.
was a prison guard for 3 years, and then he went
Mm.
into the police force. And he went into the police force when I was still in high school and into my first year of college. So I would
Wow.
say from like 66 to 68. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
66 to 68.
I
Because
wonder how did he ever speak? I'm sorry, go ahead.
he was injured, and that's how I got the scholarship to go to school.
Okay. So he got injured on the
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Oh wow. It's probably good. I don't know how what because at this time where were you guys at this time? Were you in Philadelphia? Where are you from?
Yes. We were in North Philly. We were in North
Okay, you're
Philly.
from North Philly and she currently
To the
resides in
time I
Philadelphia.
lived in Tyler's nice town.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Most
All
of the
right.
time
So
I lived in Tyler's nice town.
he got injured on the job, and so as a result, that helped you to pay through college.
I got a
Okay.
Hero scholarship to go to school.
All right. All right.
And while I was in college, I met the first man I married. So there
Oh.
was a previous marriage. There was a previous marriage.
Oh, there was a
But
previous. Okay.
yes. And what I tell people is I said, never use marriage as a way to run away from home. Because that's what I did.
Okay. Okay. So the first marriage, you like you said, know your why, right? Know your
Yeah,
why. That's what we talked
exactly.
about. What motivated you to get in that situation in the first place? So you said you were running away
Now,
from home.
I didn't tell myself that I was running away from home. I told
Okay.
myself this was a man I loved.
Mm,
I didn't realize that marriage was work.
mm.
I heard that poetry that said love conquers all, and I thought it would.
Yeah. And then came life.
Yes,
Elbowed you right in the forehead. Up,
yes.
up, gotta work, gotta work
I,
it.
I discovered that if you are not invested in this, then all
Mm,
those vows, they don't work. And
truth.
it's not that the vows don't work, it's that you don't work them.
Nah, so true. You got a part to play. You have
Yes,
obligations, right, to
yes.
fulfill to one another. Like you said, you're young and like you said, you're running away, not really fully looking at it. And so look at that introspective. All right, so that marriage didn't work out. So how did the second one come about?
My first husband, after we divorced as friends because
Okay.
I decided that it would make more sense to raise the children with us on a friendly basis as opposed to being enemies and the kids seeing a lot of that.
Mm,
So we did not fight and all of that. We just came to a mutual I think we need to end this while we still like each other.
Good, 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 good. So all your children
Because
came from the first marriage, your boys.
no,
Okay.
just two of them.
Just two of them?
Two
Okay.
ones. Yeah,
Two. Okay.
yeah. And he was running away from a domineering mother. I was running away from a domineering father. We ran to each other, and it didn't work
It didn't
because
work out.
we
Wow.
were still emotionally kids.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Immature.
right,
Yeah. That's why I
right.
said that why piece. It has a way of magnifying later, and it's not a good glue that's going to hold the
Right.
two together, right? If it's
Yeah.
not on a good, strong foundation.
So I went to my pastor and I said, I think I want to file for divorce. And he said, well, how do you feel about that? And I said, well, the crazy part is, I was indoctrinated in the Catholic Church to believe that divorce was a sin.
Hmm.
He said, okay, then confess it as a sin and move on.
Okay. Okay. Wow,
So
that's a
that's what I
liberal
did.
Catholic priest.
No, no, no. He wasn't a Catholic priest.
Okay.
He understood my Catholic background though,
Oh,
which
got
I
you. I was like, wow,
did.
that's different. Okay, got you.
So,
He spoke
so
to your religious background. Okay, got
exactly,
you.
exactly.
Okay.
He said to me, if you
Hmm.
still feel as though it's a sin, then
Hmm.
confess it as a sin and move forward, which is what
Yes.
I did.
Okay.
So since first husband and I were still on friendly terms,
Hmm.
he introduced me to second
Oh, so okay. So okay, husband
husband.
introduced you to your
Right. But
okay, all
I
right.
wasn't planning on marrying this one.
Wow.
I mean, he introduced me to it. He said, "This is somebody I work with." I said, "Hi, how you doing? I don't like you."
That's how y'all were introduced. You was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. It
No,
was it because he introduced you? Was that what the
he
turn off
introduced
was?
me. He
Okay.
introduced me to this person, and I looked at him and I said, "Okay, I see, brother, but I know this kind of brother because I saw a lot of them in college. I ain't interested." So when he said, "Can I have your phone number?" I said, "No."
Lord have mercy. But God had something in mind.
He
Something going
did.
on behind
He
the
did.
scenes.
He did. He did. So So I saw him, and that was the end of that. And so I didn't think I was going to see him anymore. So a girlfriend of mine, she had to move from her apartment. So she said, "You know where I can get some boxes?" And I said, "Well, yeah, my ex said that there's a whole bunch of boxes, empty boxes at his job, and people are free to come get them whenever they want to." So she said, "Okay, well, you want to go with?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So we get in the car and we go, and I'm up there, and she's getting all these boxes that she needs for her move. And who should pop up but the same person that was introduced me the first time? He says, "Hey, how you doing?" And I looked at him and went, "Yeah, okay."
Wow.
So he says, "What's your name?" I said, "Oh, well, we don't remember. That's all right. That's cool. You don't need to know it." So he said, "Why is that?" And I said, "Because ain't nothing happening. Not now,
Wow.
not later." So he said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, really. Nothing's happening. I heard about you, and I'm not one of them."
See, and what is the lesson in this, brothers? What are the lessons? You can't give up. You can't give because sometimes we as women, especially when we go through our little experiences with relationships, sometimes we have a hard shell around that heart, and y'all gonna have to
Mm.
do some work. But it seemed like the brother was on, he was for the job, he was for the task. He didn't give up.
Well, the interesting thing about that was I was not, as they say, as saved as I am now. So when
Okay.
I got ready to get back in the car to go home, he says, "Well, can I go?" And I was not very nice with where I said he could go. So, but his answer absolutely floored me. Because when I told him where he could go, he said, "Been there, didn't like the climate. Tell me someplace else."
Wow.
So I laughed.
Clever.
Yeah. So when I laughed, he said, "Oh, now you got to give me your phone number."
Wow. See, look at that. He showed you he had a head on his shoulders. That was appealing. All right. Something happened. She's going to come back and continue her testimony. But it's powerful. You know that backstory, it really truly makes a difference. All right. Okay, she's back. Let's see.
Something happened.
All right.
I don't know
No
what happened.
worries. We know how to flow with this.
Right.
All right. So he got them digits and it
Yeah, he
started
did.
calling.
Then he said, "Is it all right for me to call you?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm always up late." So he said, "Okay." So the first time he called me, I answered the phone and I was half sleepy, and it was like 11 p.m. He said, "I thought you said you was up late," and I said, "Well, I had a lot to do today, so I was tired." So he said, "Okay, well, I'll call you later. Yeah, I'll call you another time." So I said, "Okay." The next time he called me, it was around 10 o'clock, and I answered, and I was half asleep. And he said, "Are you playing with me? What is going on? I thought you said you were, somebody who stayed up late." And I said, "Well, lately I've been busy." But see, what I didn't say to him was he was calling me at tax time, and I was a tax preparer.
Oh,
So I was, doing all this paperwork, and back then we didn't do it on computer; we did it by hand. So
yes.
while I'm doing all this paperwork and stuff, I would work long hours.
Hmm.
So if I work long hours, I'll come home and I like go straight to bed. So by the time he called me, I'll be waking up from a sleep. So he says, "Uh huh, she playing with me because she said she stayed up late, and now I'm calling and she ain't answering, or she's answering and she can't talk to me." So I guess he waited like a week before he called the third time. So he says, "So can you talk now?" And I said, "Yeah." So he says, "Okay, good." So we had a lightweight conversation. And then
Okay.
when he got ready to say goodbye, I said, "So when we going out?" He said, "What?"
Okay. She
So
shot
I
her
said, "Well, yeah." So so he said, "Wait a minute." I said, "What?" And I could hear guys laughing in the background. So I said, "Well, what are they laughing at?" He said, "I'm usually not speechless. You kind of caught me off guard." And I said, "But that's what I do."
Wow.
Yeah. So he says,
Wow.
"Okay." So we went out, we had a very nice time. We went to dinner, and dinner was nice, and we went to a movie. And I tried to get him to talk about himself, and he wouldn't do it. So I said, "Okay, I see what's going on here." He said, "What?" So I said, "You just don't open up about you."
Mm.
So he said, "Well, when I do, people tell me I'm conceited." So I said, "Well, let me see." So he starts talking. And then
Hmm.
after like 20 minutes, I said, "They were right."
Wow. Wow.
So he said, "What do you mean?" So I said, "Men who are sure of themselves, they don't have to say anything
Hmm.
because woman knows that they're sure of themselves. So when you talk a lot about yourself, that usually means I'm insecure."
It's true.
Hmm.
That's true.
So he says, "Oh, so if I go out with you, I'm gonna get analyzed." And I said, "Well, not necessarily all the time. But I said, but I would like to know about you." So I
Absolutely.
said, "You were in the service, so tell me about being in the service." "I don't want to talk about that." And I didn't know that that was a sore subject.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And so
So he was
the
in the
Lord,
military. Where what did he
yeah,
serve?
well, he went to Vietnam.
Oh, he went to Nam. Wow.
And see, when I found that out, I said, "Okay, God, what are you doing?" Because I was one of those students who protested the Vietnam War. So
Okay.
automatically on two ends of the spectrum. And he was saying to me, "Well, I would tell you about what I did, but you won't understand." And I said, "Why you say that?" And he said, "Because nobody that I've ever told about it understood." And I said, "You mean no woman?"
Mm.
So he said, "Well,
Wow.
yeah, not unless they've been there."
Mm.
So I said, "See, that's what you don't understand about me." So he said, "What?" I said, "I'm different. You can't put me in the box with the rest of them
Right.
that's used to date." So he said, "No, I guess not." I said, "No." I said, "Because there's a reason why you and I connected." I said, "But we'll figure that out down the line later on, if there's a later on."
Can I ask you a related question? You brought up protests, and as we know that there's a a whole lot of protests going on all around the country, and even some outside the country abroad. Did the protests look different during the time when they were protesting Nam and other protesters you may have participated during the civil rights era? And
Um, it did and it didn't. The peaceful part was still the peaceful part, but just like there were infiltrators here who
yeah,
would
yeah.
stir up stuff
Hmm.
and get what I call the weak-minded to follow suit,
Yeah, yeah.
we same thing. There would
Same
be
thing.
individuals who were not about whatever the cause was, who would come in and see that as an opportunity to just steal, destroy, tear up, and create a negative atmosphere that put a lot of us in jeopardy because we could have
Wow.
all been hurt,
Yeah, yeah.
and back then the tendency was to lump it all together and say that everybody was part of
Hmm.
it. Now what I see is the media is separating the individuals who are looting and
Okay.
stuff from the protesters, and when they're giving the broadcast they are making
The
that
distinction.
classification.
Hmm. Hmm.
They didn't do
Wow.
that with us. They just lumped everybody together and said the protesters tore up
Mm.
stores and tore up streets and all kinds of stuff like that. But
Wow.
that wasn't the case. We recognized that there were individuals in the midst of us who were not about what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Infiltrators, people that infiltrated. Yeah, that's happening. That's real. Real talk. All right. So
Hmm.
back to your story. Okay. So he's a vet. He was a part of NAM. You were a
Hmm.
protester. God somehow brought y'all together. And then
Yeah, I couldn't
obviously,
figure that out because I said we automatically have a conflict when it comes to conversation if we talk about that. So there were two subjects that we avoided for quite a
oh,
while, and that was religion and the
okay.
Vietnam War. We didn't talk
What was
about
his
either one.
religious background?
Well, he was an angry Baptist. That's what I call him.
You said an angry Baptist.
He was an angry Baptist because he liked the Baptist church. He went to church as a child, but
uh,
I think something happened that he didn't want to talk about because the only
oh,
thing he would say whenever he called me and he said, "Where you been?" I said, "I went to church." Oh, one of those. I said, "What's that mean?"
okay.
So he said church is for hypocrites. And I said, "You know what? You're right. It absolutely is because how can they learn not to be hypocritical if they don't go to church?"
Isn't that something? Wow.
So he kind of didn't like the idea that I would flip some things that he said around because he would say church is for hypocrites, and instead of me saying no, it's not, I would agree with him and tell him, yeah, that's where they belong, so they can get fixed.
So you had an answer. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you so much, Minister McCullough. We appreciate you, Holiday. We appreciate you, everybody that's tuning in, chiming in. I'm looking at all. I can't see all the comments on both of my pages, but I do appreciate you for tuning in, and also for those that are tuning in on Minister Gray's page as well. All right. So you noticed there was a little bit of conflict in terms of topics that were
Yeah,
sensitive with between you.
yeah.
But
So
y'all made it work.
well, not at first.
Okay.
There
Okay.
were quite a few problems at first, and I would more or less ask the Lord, okay, why is this man in my life? You know,
Mm,
and a couple of times, I would run from him, and I think the more I ran away, the more he pursued.
okay. Okay.
And then when I decided to stay put, that's
Hmm.
when he run.
So y'all running away. How
Yeah.
did y'all get married?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna
Oh,
be real. I'm gonna be
okay.
honest.
All right.
We
Transparency
lived
alert.
together. We lived together for a little while. And then
Okay.
I said to him one day, I said, you know what? I'm not built for this.
Mm,
So, well, what does that mean? I said, I'm not that woman. I have to be married.
yeah.
So since we're not going to do that, I'm moving.
Mm,
So but I was pregnant.
okay. Okay.
Okay. So I said, so after I have this baby, I'm out. So he goes, yeah, 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 whatever, you know. And I said, but I know you love me. But as long as you ain't ready, I have to do this the right way. So after I have this baby, I'm out. That because that'll be son number 3. So he
Okay.
goes, okay, yeah, okay, whatever. So I'm in the hospital. I have the baby. And in the meantime, I had packed up my belongings at the house.
Listen.
Quietly, I'm gathering these boxes and I'm putting all this stuff in there. And I had even called the U-Haul and told them when I wanted to reserve one. I couldn't do
Wow.
it right away. And at the time I actually called them, they said, well, we don't have anything that you're requesting available. However, so when they told me when they would have it, I said, oh, that's great. So I said, so I want to reserve it for them. So they said, okay. So when he comes to the hospital to see me after I've had the baby, um, I said, well, after this, I'm leaving. So he says, no, 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 you're not. And I said, what do you mean, no? So he said, I think we should get married.
Mm.
So I said, oh, and how did you come to that conclusion? He said, well, I don't usually let women get under my skin, but you did.
Wow. He was something, I tell you.
Anybody who knows him will tell you he did everything his way in his time, but
Wow.
God had other plans.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So y'all got
He,
married.
so he said, wait. So he said, I think we should get married. So I said, yeah, okay, all right. I said, but I have to cancel a U-Haul that I arranged to have. So he said, oh, I did that already. I said, excuse me. So he said, yeah, they called the house looking for you. And when they told me what they were calling the house for, I told them you would not be needing it.
Wow. Listen, he knew what he wanted and he went for it. He said, listen, you
And
ain't leaving me. No,
the
ma'am.
funny thing, the funny thing is, I had an ally and didn't know I did in
Mm.
his
I'm sorry, we
because
didn't hear it. Say it again. It was a
I said
moment
I
of
had an ally that I
hmm
didn't know I had in his mother.
mother. Okay, your mother-in-law. Okay.
Yep. Because she said to him when we broke up
Hmm.
that he had not been happy since he left me. So she said, you need to go back home. And
Mm.
I didn't, because I thought she didn't like me.
Wow, and that's something. Mother-in-laws have a way, don't they?
Yeah. Well, he was dealing with a lot of things,
Hmm.
and a lot of it had to do with Vietnam and
Okay.
PTSD.
Okay, so he suffered from PTSD. Wow.
Absolutely. Yes. So he was abusive. I'm not going to say he wasn't.
Mm. Okay.
Drank, and he cussed like a sailor.
Wow.
But I
Wow,
asked
wow,
God
wow.
for
Okay.
it. And God said to me, okay, since you can't wait, I'm going to give you what you asked for, only
Oh
for me to
my.
discover that I did not like him as he was because I saw the real him.
Yeah.
But I wanted to stick with it because I said the first one didn't work, but I'm going to
Mm.
make this work no matter what I got to do. However, I don't advise any woman, I don't care who she is, to stay in a relationship where she's being abused.
Oh,
I
come
would
on.
never,
Say that again. Say that
I would
again.
not advise any woman to stay
Mm-mm.
in a relationship where she's being abused.
No, no,
No,
no.
not at
No.
all.
No, and
Now,
that
when you
is our
say
PC. That's our PSA on tonight. Please
right,
don't stay. It can be dangerous.
right,
But you
I
made
won't
the choice.
that he did a lot of things to me because he
Mm.
didn't, but there were three incidents that could have been bad.
Wow.
And when I woke up, not from being unconscious, but when I woke up emotionally and said, I don't deserve this, that's when I
Mm.
decided to get out.
Wow.
And I divorced him while
Hmm.
we were in the same house.
Okay.
I moved into another bedroom, and my lawyer said, are you sure that's wise? And I
Mm.
said, he loves me. He's not going to hurt me. Not in
Hmm.
that. So she said, okay. So when the divorce papers came, I was at work and the mailman handed him the paperwork. And my son said he looked at it and he just stood in the doorway.
Wow.
So then when I got home and he said, "What is this?" I said, "Oh," and I have to make a confession.
Mm-hmm.
My weapon is sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those women.
You, okay.
So when he said, "What is this?" I said, "I think it's self-explanatory."
Lord, Lord, Lord. Woo, eggshells,
And
my God.
yeah, so he said, "And you expect me to sign it?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Or what?" And I said, "Or we go to court." So
Wow.
he said, "Well, you know what? Instead of us going to court, I could just hurt you." And I said, "Well, if you feel like that, this is how you used to get nasty. But this
Mm,
time," he said that. I said, "Well, if you feel like that, you better send me to heaven."
mm, my Lord.
And he looked at me and he said, what is wrong with you?" And I said, "I discovered somebody bigger and badder than you. So if you're gonna hurt me, send me to heaven."
Wow.
And he backed
Wow.
up and he said, "Okay, you crazy." And he walked away.
Wow. So
And
he didn't know you were doing the divorce though until he got those papers,
until
until
he
he
got
was
the paper.
served.
Because
Wow. So
he said to me later, he said, as long as I was always hollering and screaming and fussing out loud, he
mhm.
figured she okay. She just going through her thing. He said, but
Okay.
I got quiet and I was quiet
Mm.
for too long. He said, and he realized that whenever I got quiet, he needed to be worried.
And that's, listen, that's a lesson right there. Let's insert for you men. I'm telling you, when a woman gets quiet, especially when she's verbal, that's serious. When she
Yeah.
gets quiet, that's a message
I'm,
right
yeah.
there. It means
I'm,
she's had enough.
I'm
Mm,
normally a very, very emotional, very,
yeah.
very vocal person. So
Mm.
when I got quiet, that meant I was laying plans. I was
It was
putting
in
plans
stealth
to work.
mode.
Yeah. But the thing is, I want people to understand.
Yeah.
I did not divorce him because I did not love him anymore.
Mm.
I divorced him because they told me that was the only way I could get him out of the house.
Wow.
They
Wow.
said as long as his name was legally on the deed, I could not just put him out
Right.
because he'd have every right to be there. His name is
Absolutely.
on the paperwork.
Marital
And Pennsylvania,
assets.
right? And Pennsylvania does not have a legal separation.
Nope, New York doesn't either. And and
Mhm.
I think that's a key piece to come into it, that oftentimes people are pressured to get the divorce because there's no other way to really move forward, because
Right.
certain states have certain laws in place when it comes to marriage separation and divorce. And like you said,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is one of those states, New York's one of those states. There are several other states that also don't have legal separations where you can get the legal separation and try to figure out what you want to do with the relationship. You may want to stay, may want to, but unfortunately, like you said, you have to proceed with the divorce in order to have that separation done.
Right. And the thing was, I was looking at it from several angles, and the biggest one was we were raising boys, and a
Mm,
lot of he was doing the drinking, the cheating, the alcohol. I mean, the behavior that he was displaying. I didn't want them
mm.
to think that's what men are supposed to do. I didn't want them to think that that's how a husband's supposed to treat his wife, because they're looking at this stuff, and I'm saying no, this is wrong for them to see, because children learn what they live.
Absolutely. And so that's
I said,
another
I'm
reason.
getting
That's
out of
like you
the
said,
house.
yeah, yeah. The poor example, like you said, it was so
Right,
bad and toxic. The relationship, the
right,
behavior from him. You didn't want your boys to pick up on those bad habits. Wow. Yeah.
right. I needed to get him out of the house, and the only way to actually do that, where I would have legal backup, was
Hmm.
to file divorce.
Yeah. But you
So,
still loved him. But you still loved
right,
him. Yeah. But you
because
still
when
loved
he signed the papers and handed them back to me,
him.
I said, and I quote, "When you grow up, you can come back home."
Oh, okay. So you open up that door to
Yeah,
to come back if okay, if he
yeah.
steps
Because I
up
told
and
him, I said, I'm not divorcing you because I don't love you. I'm divorcing you because I can't live with you.
yeah, real talk.
Yeah.
Real talk. And you
So
dealing with somebody with PTSD, he got his issues from Vietnam and he's trying to medicate through, like you said, alcohol and such. And Yeah.
And
It's
it got really hard to not take some of the verbal abuse personally. I mean, I went to Al-Anon and they said,
mhm,
well, you can't take everything that he's saying
literal.
literally
Mhm.
because that's the liquor talking. And
Yeah,
I've always believed that liquor loosens up simply what's already there.
that's true.
Right. So I
They
said,
call it
no.
truth serum.
Right. So as long as I said, as long as you are doing what you're doing and
Mhm.
feeling like you feel, we can't work. And if
Mm.
we can't work, then why are we in the same house? This isn't working for me.
Right.
Because I'm getting depressed and it's showing up in ways that overflow onto the boys. I don't want that.
Absolutely.
I don't
Yeah,
need
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So he moved out, and I'll be honest with you, for uh, uh at least 7 years that he was gone, I
Mhm.
said, well, maybe he ain't coming back.
Mm.
So my eyes did go in another direction for a little bit.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
my mother said something interesting to me. She said the devil will send you an imitator,
Mm.
see the real thing.
Isn't that something?
And the man that was that fell back into my life, I said, oh, I know him. He writes poetry. He goes to church. He is studying for the ministry. This is perfect.
Wow.
And then I found out about his other side. And I realized that he was a stalker and an abuser,
Mm.
and it was going to be worse for me than with my husband because he was a big baby.
Wow.
I wasn't trying to raise another child.
I know that's right.
I
Okay,
was not trying to
listen. The
raise
devil
another
you
child.
know versus the devil you don't know.
Right. My son said to
Listen.
me, Mom, we don't like him.
Mm. Yeah.
So I said, well, y'all not giving him a chance. And they said, no, we don't like him. We gave him plenty of chance. So I said, okay. Now, one thing I want people to know in particular
Mhm.
was that my husband made a statement to me while we were married that I took to heart, because
Mhm.
he said, your poetry is interfering with our marriage. I
Wow.
considered my poetry a gift from God,
Okay.
but if that were really true,
Mhm.
I said I was going to put it away,
Wow.
meaning I wasn't going to write any poetry while my husband was like in the vicinity.
Got you.
Anytime that we would have together, I would devote my time to him. And
Mm.
but the weird part about it was when he said it, my mind said, how is it interfering with your relationship when you don't have a relationship because he won't stay home?
Wow. So he's not home. He's saying the gift that God gave you is interfering with your relationship.
Right.
And so you're compromising this just to appease him.
By putting I didn't write poetry for 4 years.
How did that make you feel to have to sacrifice what you've loved and obviously what you felt God gave you to do for your purpose? That's a real
Well,
thing in relationships and marriages. People are having to compromise their purpose, whether it be ministry, like you said, whether it be a career,
yes,
profession,
I put it
women.
in my pocket and I hated
Yeah.
it.
Mm.
And I also I was also fearful because you know that expression, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like this was something that God gave me, and if I didn't do anything with it, it was going to be gone. However, I did keep a journal. Back then, we called
Okay.
it a diary,
Hmm.
and I only wrote in it whenever he wasn't home or
Hmm.
whenever he was asleep.
Hmm.
Now, when it came to grounds for divorce, my lawyer said to me, if we need it,
Hmm.
we're going to use what you wrote in your diary in court.
Wow.
He went on and signed the divorce papers, so we didn't even have to go there.
Yeah. So
I
you
just want
you
people to know that because they will take things that women document if they need to, as long as she does it consistently.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a script for a movie right there, probably. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good old novel and a good old biopic
Yeah.
that you can publish about your life. My God.
Well, but the period of time that he was gone for 15 years, but he wasn't gone. He was like
15
in and out.
years. So y'all were divorced for
15.
15 years.
Right.
Oh my.
But he would stop by, he would see the boys, he would
Hmm.
ask me how I was doing, but I had to draw a line
Right.
because I said, excuse me, I
Mm.
can't be the other woman to his other woman because he
Wait
decided,
a minute now. Wait a minute. Wait. He was trying to make you the side piece. Is that what he was trying to
yeah,
do?
right,
Lord Jesus, these men are something else. This is a real
right.
thing.
He,
You
he gonna
divorce the
tell me,
person and they trying to make you the side piece.
right,
My God.
right. And I said, I can't be the other woman
Mm.
while he has another woman
Watch
because
out now.
I needed to keep my standards at a certain level. So when he would come over, or call to come over, I said, "You're gonna see the boys," and I would leave. Now
Yeah.
that didn't always work, okay? Because once you've been married, it's a little difficult to make that work all the
Yeah.
time.
You
I'm
got
gonna
that
be
soul
truthful.
tie. You got that bond. It's hard. That's why I said you have to go through it's a process.
Yeah,
You can't anybody that's ever been married and experienced a divorce, it is a process. Yeah.
it is. It is. It
My
is. But
God.
um, the funny thing was, some some of those ladies called me.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow. So they were well
and
aware that you were
yeah,
obviously the
they
mom
knew that
and
I was in the picture because he told them if she ever calls and says there's something wrong with the kids, I better get that phone call.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So they were but I never called. I only called once
Hmm.
because there's something wrong with one of our sons. But other than that, I never did that because I
Mm.
was not that woman
Right.
to do that. I was not going to use the kids as an excuse to see him. I was not going to use the kids as an excuse to have him come by or any
That's
of that.
right. That's right.
And
Yeah.
and I didn't want to play like that.
Right.
Well,
Right.
he wound up
Mm.
in the hospital with pneumonia
Mm.
for time number 6.
6 pneumonia
He
cases.
he
Wow.
had pneumonia several times before I met him. While I was with him, he had pneumonia at least twice.
Wow. Wow.
And this was the 6th time he was in the hospital. I didn't know he was in the hospital because he wasn't living with me. But
Mm.
he said when he woke up from being out for however long he was, because he didn't even
Hmm.
remember when he was admitted to the hospital, he said, and I quote, God said go home.
Wow. Wow. God
So
said go home.
I had gotten rid of the stalker,
Okay.
and the very next month after telling the stalker he needed to find a life for himself,
Okay.
God gave me, Lord, why did you make me black?
Oh, so he gave you that poem in the
Yes,
middle of, okay. Wow.
yes, yes.
Wow.
Had I still had my eyes in the wrong direction, I don't
Hmm.
even
Hmm.
been willing to write it down.
Oh,
So I would have missed that opportunity, which was a blessing. I would have missed that altogether.
wow.
That wouldn't even have happened.
See.
I'm I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. And so what was it? December 31st, 1999,
Hmm.
X calls to talk to me, not just to talk to the boy.
Right.
He said, I have something to ask you, but I'm afraid. Those 2 words never came out of his mouth while we were together.
Is that something?
I'm afraid. Never. So I said, well, what is it? He waited until the clock struck midnight, said, Happy New Year.
Hmm.
I've grown up now. Can I come home?
Isn't that something? Wow.
And I said, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I was already in my ear saying, it's okay. I fixed him.
Oh my goodness.
So we'll talk about it.
Hmm.
Okay, good. And he dated me.
Mm. Okay.
I mean, we actually went out, not just to dinner and a movie. We took long walks. We had conversation. I mean, genuine conversation.
Wow.
He opened up in ways he had not opened up before.
So this was a
And
night and day in comparison to your intro to
right,
him, your initiate, right? And this is night and day. Okay.
right. So after seeing each other for a while, he went to my mom. Well, no, I'm sorry. He went to each one of my sons first,
Mm.
told them, I want to remarry your mother.
Wow.
I don't know how those conversations went. He just told me that he had to have them with them for them to be okay with us getting back together.
Absolutely.
That's I
Wow.
knew that changed
Mm. That's
because
powerful.
their feelings and their opinions mattered more where he was willing to take that step.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely
So
a sign of change. Like you said, he's willing to honor their feelings. And in time
right,
past, I'm sure it was his way or the highway. You know what I mean? But it shows
right.
that it's a maturity. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
And he asked me to marry him. He asked me 3 times. He asked me on January 1st of year 2000,
Hmm.
January 1st, year 2001, January 1st, year 2002. The reason why he did that was each time he asked me, he said, will you marry me? See, remember the first time he said, I think we ought to get married, which is not
Right.
really a proposal.
Yeah.
This time it
Yeah.
was, it was, will you marry me?
Hmm.
And he said, I don't want to answer right now. I'm just telling you my agenda.
Mm.
And I said, what do you mean you don't want to answer? He said, I don't want to answer until I know that you know that I'm not that guy anymore.
Mm. Wow. I'm here. Go ahead and keep on.
So he said, when I'm sure
Hmm.
that you can trust me, knowing that I won't do the same thing to you I did the last time, then
Yeah.
I'll ask for an answer. He said, and I'll tell you
Wow.
something else. I intend to make you laugh more than I made you cry.
Wow. Did he keep his word?
Oh, yeah.
See, look at
Oh,
that.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even even though um he's not, well, actually he wrote poetry when he was in the service,
Isn't that
and I'm
something?
still upset because I can't find it. But
Oh,
he had
wow.
shared it with me. He had shared it with me after he had gone through some of his papers and found it. And I said, "Oh, we need
Wow.
to publish this." And then he took it back.
Wow.
But
So he was as creative. So was it what was it with your gift? You said you later found out. Did you find you mentioned something that you found out later what it was about your gift, or something about him letting you be yourself, letting you be your authentic self, whether it be writer, wordsmith, or what have you. Like he
right,
supported you in time past where he did not.
right, because I said to him, we were watching the Newlywed Game or some crazy thing, and I they asked the question, and I said, okay, so what is it that you would have loved to do? What was your dream? What would you? He said, I don't have one anymore. He said, Vietnam killed that for me. Now my
Oh wow.
responsibility. He said, my responsibility is to support you in whatever you want to do.
Wow.
So when I started the poetry venue,
Hmm.
he became my chef. So he would
Oh,
always
okay.
put the meats. So I would kind of joke with the audience when I was introducing him, and I'd say his poetry is in the kitchen because he
All
loved to cook.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he always did all the food preparation whenever we had the poetry.
Wow. That's just amazing. So y'all were separated for 15 years.
10 years.
And, again, you didn't just jump right back into the relationship. He proved that he changed and he was deliberate about going through that process of showing you that I'm no longer the same. So obviously he went through his process emotionally. Maybe he wasn't completely healed and delivered from the PSTD, but in terms of his love for you, wanting to show that love for the family, wanting to be a better man, he obviously learned from his experience during that time of you all separation for during that 15 years.
So he went to counseling too, but he didn't admit it at first.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
he went to now. See, listen, black, our brothers, they
Black
have a
men don't
problem
go
when
to
it
counseling.
comes to counseling. Oh my God, yeah,
They
that's
don't go to
definitely,
counseling.
very taboo, in the black community. So that's great. He
Yeah, he went
realized.
to counseling twice. The first time he went to counseling for the alcohol.
Okay.
And he told me he was signing himself into a place in Coatesville for 90 days.
Wow. So he signed himself in rehab.
Yeah.
That's
So he was
something.
away, and when he came back, he
Oh,
said, I am really, really different. So I said, okay. Now, I'm not going to say he totally stopped drinking,
right.
but he stopped drinking to the point of being abusive.
Got you. Whatever that pain was, right? He dealt with that probably during that 90-day process, that
Yeah.
the triggers.
Yeah.
Wow.
He didn't do the hard stuff anymore. And I
Mhm.
had no idea that during the first round of our marriage, there were actually some drugs involved at certain times. I didn't know anything about that,
Wow.
but that was part of the reason why he was so abusive verbally and stuff,
Hmm.
and I didn't know
Yeah.
any of that. He
Right.
admitted it later.
Wow. And it makes sense, being that he was in the military, he was a vet. I mean, everybody knows that Vietnam was one of the most horrific, I think, to date. I mean, that our men had to go through. That's a lot. And again, coming home with no support, emotionally, no counseling. Like you said, he later seeked counseling. They didn't have any support, so real counseling, and all that stuff. So that again,
Yeah, it was that and the idea that he came home looking for his benefits, and
mhm.
they gave him 10%, even though he had been wounded in the service, because
Wow.
they wanted to say that his classification in the service was cook. So they
Mhm.
wanted to say that whatever injuries he suffered were not combat related.
Wow. So, just like you said, environmental factors, it does affect domestic violence, situations in the home, the lack of money, especially during this crisis, as everybody's suffering because of the loss of job, the economic system, no food on the table, layoffs, all of that stuff is just, it's a pressure cooker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's going to cause any relationship to be impacted in a negative way.
yeah.
And so you felt like you had to do something, and God led you in that decision to make the divorce, to get the divorce, despite of how
Mm-hmm.
you felt, you had to let him go. And if he was for you, as they say, that he will return. And he
Right.
did, with the
And
mind to want to do right.
and as they say, God fixed him. So when he came back, he was a much better man
Much better man. And you guys remained married until how
until
long?
he paid.
Until he passed. How many years was that after?
What would we do? The 04 to 2017.
Okay, 2017.
Yeah.
Wow. This is
Because
a
I
power.
asked
I'm sorry, go
when I
ahead.
asked he asked me to marry
Hmm.
him again, and he finally said, well, when he went down on one knee,
Hmm.
I knew he was looking for an answer by that time, because when he said it before, he was there. I'm just telling you my agenda to let you know that it didn't change. But the day that he asked me and he went down on one knee,
Hmm.
I said, okay, so you want to answer now? And he wouldn't, yeah. So I told him yes, and I said, do you want me to come up with the date? And he said, no, we already have a date. And I'm like, what you talking about? He said, we got married October 23rd
Hmm.
of 1981.
Hmm.
We were to get married on October 23rd, 2004.
Wow. Wow. So he said, listen, we already got a date. We've already married. We're gonna go right back to that date, and we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going.
Keep it going, keep it moving. Yep.
Ah. Wow.
And that's exactly what we did. And he spoiled me rotten.
Oh, that is amazing. And he made up for all the time, all the 15 years. Did you feel like he made up for that lost time?
Yes, and when I don't want anybody to misunderstand when I say he spoiled me rotten, I do not mean with material things. I
Right.
mean I was the center of attention that I wasn't before.
Yes.
So there was no doubt in my mind that he wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't
Hmm.
going to do anything crazy. He made me feel secure.
Right. And you
So
know
to
what? That's
me,
all you needed.
that's
Yeah. If that's your emotional need, if that's your love language, and that's how that, that's what love means to you, it needs to be conveyed in that way. Like you said, him being totally present and, having you at the center, that is your money, your $1 million. You know what I mean? That's
I
what,
tell
yeah.
people the second go around I married my best friend.
Oh,
And that's the way you're supposed to do it to me. To me,
absolutely.
if you can marry your best friend, if you can call them your best friend when you get married, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. I
So
totally
when we
agree.
got married the second time, he gave me a Bible
Hmm.
and he wrote the Bible. The only person that loves you more than me is God.
Look at that. So, what, like you said, where before it was an issue with religion, now he's saying, "I'm gonna honor God in this."
Hmm.
God did this, and that's amazing. That's really a telltale sign that someone
Hmm.
has changed. You know what I mean? They've really gone a full circle in terms of their transformation. So
Yeah,
that's
because
powerful.
he said to me, God said, go home. He said, and
Mm,
I knew it didn't mean back to where I was living. It meant come back to you because you were home.
wow. So God told him to go back when God was done with him, like you said, finished with him. Like he went through his process for healing. Maybe not 100%. We heal as we go sometimes, but there's certain
Exactly.
aspects of his person that God had to deal with before he allowed him to come back into your life.
Right.
So that's powerful. And again, God used the divorce situation, that separation time,
Hmm.
to do the processing. So are you glad you got the divorce? How do you feel about that? Or would you, if you had to do it all
No,
over again?
I'm glad because the period of time that we were apart,
Mm,
God showed me that I could lean on Him.
mm,
When I say lean on Him, I mean lean on God, trust Him for whatever I needed because I raised my sons by myself, basically.
mm, mm.
At that point, I became a single parent.
Wow.
So God showed me that not only could He make sure that I had the income I needed to take care of them,
Hmm.
but He also showed me that, like some women say, I need a man. It
Right.
wasn't that I needed one. The
Right.
man is the complement to my life, but he's not who I need to be totally dependent on. I needed to be totally dependent on God
Right.
because, like the Bible says, trust in God, not in man.
Hmm.
Because the reality is, man can disappoint at any given time, but God is consistent.
Right. But he showed you the value of
Exactly.
having a husband. Yes, I agree 100%. Sometimes it's nothing like rocking it out, being single, being a single mother, having to pay all the bills and bear the burden, where you even learn to appreciate him as much as he's learned to appreciate you in your absence. You know what I'm saying? In each other's absence, you learn to appreciate, and see the value in one another. And sometimes you have to go through the school of hard knocks
Mm-hmm.
in order to understand someone's importance, and
I
value.
also had to learn my own value. I
Yes.
also had to learn to value me
Yeah.
because otherwise, when you don't value you, that's how you wind up in abusive relationships.
Mm,
So once I valued me, I realized that even if he came back, he was not going to treat me the way he had treated me before because I wasn't going to allow it. But then when
absolutely.
God changed him, see, it didn't matter. It would not have mattered who the man was. I knew that I had to teach people how to treat me, and there were certain
Hmm.
things I'm not going to put up with anymore. When he came back, I felt less threatened because I knew that God had changed him.
Right. And that's a huge leap of faith, because
It
some
is.
people will say, child, that man
Mm-hmm.
was, suffering from PTSD, and he was verbally abusive and this, that, the third. He was a drunkard, da 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 da. Why are you gonna let that man make in your own?
They didn't even focus on that part. They said, but he cheated on you. How
Oh,
could you go back?
that part too? Okay,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother element. Okay. But most people will say, why would you don't do it? Don't, they're gonna repeat, da 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 da. But again, that's a humongous, huge step of faith, leap of faith to, and some people would, but you, like you said, it's about your relationship with God and you discerning, right? The
Mm-hmm.
voice of God concerning your situation, because there are some folks that don't need to bring that, don't allow that person to come back into their life, because they,
That's
there's
right.
no change, no transformation,
That's
no
right.
nothing. They're gonna be the same exact person they was that left.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
having that
and I
relationship with God is important to know when He's speaking and when He's not concerning your relationship.
exactly. Because
Wow,
there's some women that say once a cheater, always a cheater. Once a this, always a, and that's
that's what they
true.
say.
If God don't fix them.
Mm, yeah,
God is not in it. That is the truth. And I would not argue with anybody who say that. But if God
absolutely.
steps into the process, and the other part is my husband had to be willing to let God in
Yeah,
for that to happen. He had to
right.
see the need for change.
Yeah. Yes. So this is a good example of what God can do. That God
Mm-hmm.
can bring about reconciliation if it's in His will and a person is willing to do the work and submit to the process of being healed and done and transformed. That God can do it, because I think, like you said, it's either one and done, all or none. With a lot of people, when it comes to marriage and divorce, they feel like, oh, you're divorced, don't get back, all this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. But again, this is one situation, one testimony and story where the Lord, yes, they were divorced for 15 years, but God, He allowed them to come back together, and it was a whole different story, a whole different relationship. You know what I'm saying? And a happy ending. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that little piece, I don't know who gave it to me, but I remember hanging it up in my kitchen. The poster
Hmm.
that says, "If you love someone, let them go. If they're meant for you, they'll come back."
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
What I did, and when he came back better.
Look at that. Because it was meant for you to let him go. And sometimes you do. You have to let people go. And of course, some people that tell you, no, let this stay in the situation. No, it was intended on you to let him go
Yeah,
with,
because
again,
somebody
the hope that he would
said,
return.
how, yeah, they said, "How could you let that woman take your husband?" I said, "My husband, nobody took him. He voluntarily did what he did."
Wow.
Okay, so that was his choice.
Yeah.
And then when he realized where, as he put it, home was, he
Hmm.
realized he wanted to come back home. So he knew that there were certain things he was going to have to do to get there.
Absolutely.
It's a secular song called "Working My Way Back to You."
Mm.
And when we got back together, he used to play it all the time.
You know what? Sometimes you gotta, like you said, experience something different to realize, fully that you really had what you needed all the whole time, all along. They said that 80-20 rule, that even though you may feel like that is something lacking, it may be that 20% that's lacking, but look at the whole 80% of what you got going on. And until
Right.
you leave that 80 and realize, like, I got this 20, but she's not measuring up to what I really want to be, who I want to really be with. And you have to come to that realization. But God really worked it out. I mean, this is one of those testimonies, in my opinion, that, all things working together for the good of them, who love the Lord and who are called according to His purpose.
Purpose.
God truly worked it out for your good. I mean, for His good as well as your good. And
Mm-hmm.
so to me, it gives a lot of couples hope. If God has spoken to you concerning your relationship, I don't care. Now, 15 years is a lot of years. That's a decade and a
It is.
half. You know what
It
I'm
is.
saying? That's a
It
decade and
is.
some change. Okay.
Yes.
That's a long time. But if God said whatever He said concerning your relationship, you can trust in that. You can hold on to that because it's going to come to pass. God's going to bring that thing to pass. So you can
Mm-hmm.
trust God. You can bank on that. You know what I mean? No matter how long it may seem, even with women that are single, that are waiting for, that husband, never been married. and that God spoke to them, or someone spoke to them by way of a prophetic word, said, hey, you're going to get married, da, da, da. You can't look at the timetable, you can't look at the years, you can't look at the time. That doesn't determine whether it's going to come to pass or not. It's the
No,
person's process.
God's
Everybody's
time,
got to go through their process.
God's time's not our time.
Not at all. Not at all. We got to trust him. You know what I'm saying? So this really, like I said, this even though we had the conversation, I was there. I think our the interview had to be like 30 minutes, but I think the rest of the time that we were waiting was this you sharing your story. And it just, like I said, it really blessed my life. And I said, this is a really good example of how God can work it out. You know what I'm saying? And he can bring about reconciliation, if he spoke that thing, that it's going to come to pass. So I really do hope and pray that the listeners, those that are tuning in, are encouraged. I know that I agreed with Higher Praise Christian ministry with an hour. So what I'll do is I'll try to break it up, and try to make it so that the main part of it is shared on the broadcast, if at all possible. I'll try to do some editing with this particular video, but I just wanted you to share your heart. I really did. I didn't want to interrupt you as much. I just wanted you to share your heart, because I do really do believe, and I do agree with some of these comments. Some of the folks saying they're really enjoying your transparency. Amen. Facts, right. One audience member says she's so glad she tuned in. Again, no matter how bad it looks, and how bad it gets in relationships, it's not too bad for God to take care of it. It's not too bad for God to bring about healing and reconciliation. Amen. It isn't. Your D says she's one of the best married couples I've personally been blessed to know. The inspiration they were. And so that's amazing. Like I said, I just heard the words and was inspired. And being that I'm in the Lord has given me a ministry dealing with, divorce and relationships and singles and such, I just felt like your testimony just needed to be heard. And so I'm so, so glad that you took the time out of your busy schedule to join me on this platform to share your story. Is there something else that you would like to share, just to encourage the people? Just whatever's on your heart to say. We just want to wrap this up, and whatever's on your heart, pertaining to the topic, or just something else that you want to say to our audience, just to encourage them. You can speak to the time. Again, y'all missed a powerful poet, a poetry. Y'all gonna have to watch the replay because it's a very powerful. What is it? What is the name of it again? It was what?
Why did you make me black?
Why did you make me black? I wrote that down. Why did? Because I want to find that. Guess I can Google that and find that online, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna find that and I'm gonna try to post it in there. Why'd you make me black? So she cited her poem.
No. You got to
I'm
put
sorry.
Lord. Why did you make me black?
Oh, it's Lord. Okay, so y'all got to look for it. Lord.
There's too many other bootleg versions that start off
Oh,
with "Why did you make me black?" or "Why did God make me black?" So you gotta make sure
okay.
you put Lord in there so they know that's mine.
Right. Okay. So, Lord, why did you make me black? Okay. Look for that one. Okay. Why did you make me black? Okay. Powerful. She quoted it. She cited it. She did it on air. And I appreciate you so much. So, last words. And then you can tell the people how they can follow you. And if you have a website or any other information that you would like to share. And then we're going to bring this conversation to a close.
Whenever anybody feels stressed, God gave me sorry, God gave me an acronym. The acronym
Mm-hmm.
breathe. Believe righteousness eventually arrives to handle everything.
Wow. Breathe. Believe righteousness
Eventually
eventually
arrives
arrives
to
to
handle
handle
everything.
everything. Wow. And why do you think that's befitting?
Because a lot of times when we get all wound up in stuff, we don't take the time to just pull back a little bit and breathe. And sometimes if you
Mm,
just do that, if you just take a step back for a second and take a deep breath and breathe, things will start to look a little clearer. Because when you're all hyped up and you're all wound up, you may not be seeing what's really in front of you. You might be seeing what you think you see, and what you think you see is not the whole picture.
right. That's to me right on, very poignant, very on point, because I know a lot of people are citing the mantra, I can't breathe, but some of
Mm-hmm.
y'all need to breathe. Some of y'all
Mm-hmm.
need to exhale. I know that that's what that man said, and I know we want to keep, but some of you all need to breathe. Some of you
Mm-hmm.
all need to inhale and exhale. Y'all really do need to allow, their blood to flow, like I said, to your brain so that you can begin to see things a lot clearly instead of seeing red, and being enraged, with the times that we are in, and rightly so. But and another thing, let's speak to, because I know you protested in the past. You said you participated in the protest with Vietnam. Now that we have it, we're just gonna just tap into your wisdom. How do you think we should approach this situation?
Well, I think the peaceful protesters have it, but like I read our former President Obama's essay the other day.
Mm,
He said we need to be not just doing the protesting, but we also need to pay attention to the policies and the politics.
watch it.
And I think there's
Amen.
that we need to educate ourselves on, because I just reread the First Amendment and realized what,
Mm,
and I said, our children aren't being taught the amendments. They need to know, because I'm hearing all these people screaming and hollering about what is and what is not constitutional. But the things that they're saying are not constitutional are not even in the Constitution. It's like, they're making up stuff. And they said, you didn't learn your history. And that's the reason why you're saying all the stuff that you're saying. And some of the stuff that they're saying is not history, not even about what's going on. And like I told somebody the other day, if you think this is only about George Floyd, then you've been asleep,
mm,
because this is
my
way,
God.
way bigger than that.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I
Absolutely.
fault the immigrants that came
Hmm.
over here, and we constantly hear the immigration stories about how somebody came from nothing, came over here and tapped out a life for themselves when they had nothing. Well, number one, we didn't come voluntarily. Number two, we didn't get paid for our labor. Number three, we were treated like property as opposed to like people. We had
Hello.
nothing. They gave us nothing, and they treat
Mm,
us like nothing. And it's time for that to change.
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Dealing with policies and politics. And also, like you said, a lot of these elections, especially on the local level, like now we're having to depend on the DA, or
Mm,
whomever that's on the local level to
yeah,
determine whether he's going to prosecute or not. These elections, oftentimes we the people, especially Black folks, don't
mm,
participate in.
yeah.
We may participate during the general election. I work for the Board of Elections. I've been doing that for about at least 5 6 years, and I don't
Mm,
see us. I don't see us at the local level
right.
voting. For our councilmen and blah blah blah. We not there. We're not present. And so when things like this happen, and now we got a situation where we're depending on somebody to lean on the side of right and righteousness, right? And to
Yeah.
do that which is right, they're going to lean on whoever their constituents are, whoever their base are, whoever they're going to be protecting. And a lot of
Yeah.
times it's again that some people have the complexion for the protection, and so as they say, and so they're going to lean more on the side of white than on the
Right.
side of right.
Right.
And so, but we don't participate in those elections. So people may say, well, I'm gonna sit out on this election, I'm not gonna vote. Listen, people, we don't need to take that stance. That's how we always find ourselves. We get mad and we don't want to participate, but
Well,
we're hurting
I, I
ourselves
get
more than
mad.
anything else.
I get mad, and that's the reason I do participate.
Let that
They
motivate you.
murdered people so that we.
Amen.
So if they killed people so we could have the right to vote, who are we
That's
not
it.
to use?
I know that's the truth. People did literally gave their life
Yeah.
for this whole process. So for us to disregard that because we don't understand, again, a lot of it is rooted in ignorance. We don't understand the power in the vote. We say the electoral college
Mhm.
is
Right.
already rigged. We don't understand so I think more education, and maybe I'll do more lives like that where we can actually do some conversation about, like you said, the Constitution, and have more conversations about voting and what it actually does, and even on a
Yeah.
local level, and a
Yeah.
congressional level, and a national level, and what we need to have more conversations. I mean, a lot of us that are educated, that do understand the system, that do understand. We took political science, we're history majors, such. We need to have more. We need to educate our people because the
Yeah.
Bible says that my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. And we
Right.
don't understand how powerful. That's why they're trying to, especially on the Democratic end and also the Republican, they're trying to get our vote. They understand the importance of our vote.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
they're trying to pander.
Hmm.
That's why they're on these little talk shows with Charlemagne. I'm not gonna say the other part of his name, but that's why they target to the Charlemagnes of this world. And they're
Yeah.
and they're on the Breakfast Club and they're over here. They're what I'm saying? They're pandering for our vote because
Mm-hmm.
our vote is important.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay?
I ask them when I see them and they say pull lever 113, where were you all year? How come I'm just now seeing you on the day that you want my vote?
Wow.
How come I didn't see you when I went to your office to tell you that I had a problem?
Yes. Yes. And also an importance for a black agenda. We
Right.
need to have something spelled out that we can present to these candidates that we're looking. If you want our vote, if you want our support, what you need, okay, we have an agenda. A lot of people have been
Mhm.
talking reparations for years, and maybe we need to do a whole nother live just talking about the black folk, just talking about this kind of conversation because to be honest, we need to have more of this because it's a lot of stuff that is being, like you said, people are not, they're not in the full understanding, they're not in the full know when it comes to
Mhm.
the Constitution, their rights, that they have no idea what's going on underneath the surface and even right in front of their eyes. And so, yes, we will continue to pray as believers, but the Bible says faith without works is dead. There's some stuff that we have to do too. It's really in our hands. God has
It is.
graced us, right, with the authority and some power to have dominion and to act and to activate. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
we can't sit back and say, "Okay, God, you do it. You fix it." God's looking at us. No, you fix it, because that's what I
Mm-hmm.
put you on earth to do. It's for you to do it. You
Yeah.
know. And so we
Yeah.
will continue to grace ourselves and talk about it and really empower the people with more information about voting. I think I'm going to do something like that where I'm going to break it down every level and why it's important to participate
Mm-hmm.
in our election process and why that's important.
Okay.
But I do love you and I do appreciate you for coming on and taking the time out of your busy schedule. We're going to have to do something together again, okay?
That'd be great. Okay.
I think I have your cash app, but if I don't, inbox me, okay? I want to give you a little something just to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I love
All
you.
right.
Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk
You
soon.
too. All right.
All
Be
right. Bye
safe.
bye. You
Have a
too. All right, y'all. I really do hope that you enjoyed our Minister Gray. She is such a blessing to the body of Christ. She's such a blessing to the Black community as a wordsmith and what she has lended, just her life and just what she's lended to just her life, just lended to just her community. Just such a blessing. And so I'm so grateful and thankful that you tuned in. My name is Dr. Diaz. For those that don't know me, I'm the founder of the Divorce and Deliverance. We call it the D&D Conference, as well as the founder of Spreading Truth the Ministry and the founder of Impacting Mindsets Global. All right. And so we do the divorce and deliverance every year. And so this year, because of COVID-19, we were limited in going out and having our conferences. And so the Lord gave me the thought and the idea to come and do lives, focusing on certain topics dealing with divorce and relationships and that sort of thing, and family related issues. And we really do feel like that everything that we discussed today not only impacts us as a community, but it also impacts the body of Christ. And so we want you to be encouraged in this time, in this season. It is very discouraging to see what we see on the news, especially, due to the murder of Mr. Floyd and everything that's going on with the protests and the riots and the looting. We just want you to be encouraged, and we just wanted to focus on something positive of how God can fix it, no matter how long it takes, because I think we're in a process where we want things instantaneously. We want God to move, but sometimes it requires a process in order for us to appreciate the very good thing that we receive from God. He said he desires for us to prosper even as our soul prospereth. Amen. And so there is a correlation between growth and prosperity. And so the Father wants us to learn the lessons. He wants us to learn the lessons of the past. That's what we talked about, the parental story. That's important as she would begin to connect the dots of her past and what she saw and what she experienced going through. Sometimes we have to go there and we have to, take a step back and really analyze our lives and understand that every decision, every exposure, every situation and circumstance leads us to a particular destination, which we call life and experience experiences. So let's learn and let's grow and let's evolve as people. Okay. All right. So that's it. I'm going to bring this to a close. I know they mad at me because I was only supposed to do an hour, but y'all, she just wanted to just share her story. And I just wanted to let her because I was enjoying it. So we're going to try to do what we can do to edit this if need be, or we'll do something else with somebody else. But God is so good. So I really do appreciate you for every like, again, every share, every comment, and you guys tuning in. I appreciate it. Do share this because I really do believe that her story in regards to divorce and reconciliation is going to bless somebody. Somebody may be going through it right now where you're separated and you're trusting and believing God that he's going to bring your spouse back. He told you he was going to do it. And guess what? God is a God of his word. Or you may be in a divorce situation with someone that you love dearly, but you had to make that hard decision to, dissolve that marriage, because of your circumstance and your situation. But God is saying, hold up, wait a minute, don't move forward, don't enter into something else. Wait, let me do what I do best. I'm going to bring that thing back together again. Trust God and believe he is able. Or you may be a single individual and you're waiting on God to bring your Boaz or your Ruth. Come on, somebody, he's able. Come on, somebody, he is able. So continue to trust God and believe him. He will come through. When you're ready, when he's ready, God will do it just for you. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. We usually do lives on Friday night at 8 p.m. for those that are available. And we may from time to time do an impromptu. Just look for it. And then join us if you can. Or feel free to watch the replay. Don't forget to like this particular video, make a comment, and or share. Why? Because sharing is caring. Until next time, and be safe.